afternoon, everyone. I am Elise, founder at the French Tutor, and I'm so excited to be on live, not alone. Most of you will see me usually by myself in this box, and today I have the incredible honor to chat with and to introduce to all of you our great, incredible, brilliant placement students from UTSC. Every semester we've had a great partnership with the University of Toronto Scarborough campus, and every semester we keep getting the best of the best French learners who put great hours and time into the French tutor with a ton of different things that we have them get experience in and really be in an immersed French environment that contributes to their university degree and their learning. So today we're going to just have a great conversation. I love to do these in the semester when we can. And today I have four of our placement students who I will encourage you all to get to know a little bit better. I know a lot of you are parents of children who are on some kind of French learning journey. So it's also a really good experience to see the future a little bit, if you will. All right. So I want everyone on the call. I mean, we can kick things off with Chris. So, Chris, let me know, and everyone's going to get a chance to answer this question. What first motivated you to study French? And you can give people a little bit of your background, what you're studying, whatever you want.
Yeah, so my mom is actually Quebecoise. She's from Quebec. So I kind of grew up surrounded by French, and French was kind of imposed upon me. I was 4 years old, and my mom and dad decided that it would be beneficial for me to learn both languages. So they shipped me off to a full French school, and I had a great time. And for me, it's like, I assume most people listening to this live stream maybe get like 50, 25, 50% of their courses in French, but I had like 100% in French, and that was all the way up to grade 8. And I had a fantastic time. I don't regret learning the language a single bit, even though it was kind of imposed on me. And now it's just been giving me so many great career opportunities, like this one that I'm with right now at the French tutor. And at the end of the day, I'm just grateful that I picked it up.
Yeah, well done. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. Kylie, what about you? Why French?
So I actually started doing French immersion in first grade till sixth grade. So I decided to go to French immersion only because my friends were like all going after kindergarten and I didn't want to be like alone, so I just like went along with them. And I thought it'd be like pretty fun. And then through learning French, I got to grow up alongside a lot of my friends and I made a lot of new friends and a lot of memories in French immersion because we were all like new to French. And then basically, when I moved schools in seventh grade, I couldn't do French and I didn't have any French classes at all. And I think that's when I realized I actually really missed like learning French and just everything about like being in that environment. And then I remember in high school, I went back to a just normal like English speaking high school and I decided to take core French classes and it was really, really fun and I realized I missed it really much. So that kind of just led me into like studying French.
Incredible. And Ching, what about you?
I immigrated to Canada when I was 14, and then my family we landed in Montreal. So like we have to because of the law in
Mhm.
Montreal in Quebec. So I was in like a French high school. I was doing a welcoming class. So I learned French from ABC from like very starting. And then I was in a French high school for 3, 4 years. But after that, I moved to English college and the English university, and then I moved to Toronto. So like my full kind of child growing up background is like in French, it's fully in French. Um, like my motivation is kind of working because I'm working right now and then I work between Ontario and Quebec. I come back and forth. So I feel like I have to and like kind of enhance my French skill
Yeah.
to help me to like work with my client in Quebec. So that's my like my first motivation, and then like why I speak French and why I still want to learn French.
Hey, Malika.
For me, French is very, very personal. So, just like Chris, I grew up surrounded in French. So, I was born and up until a certain age raised in West Africa. So I grew up surrounded by French. It was the culture, everything was so amazing. However, when you're too privileged, you don't realize it until you lose that privilege. I studied in an English medium school. So for me, English was more of my thing back then. But then when we moved to Canada, and I, growing up, started losing bits and pieces of my childhood. I really wanted to find something that would keep me connected to my childhood forever, and I realized that was French. So, for me, when I speak French, I interact in French, I express myself in French. It's basically very reminiscent of, going back to my childhood, remembering all of my friends, all of my community back in West Africa. So, for me, French is very, very personal, and that's why I love and enjoy studying it.
What a fantastic note for us to start on. The motivation, the reason why, even for some of us, the outcome. You guys are living, some of you, Ching, already working, right? Living the outcome. A few as well. I know you work part-time, even though you're full-time students, and living that out. So that is a fantastic springboard for sure. And language was that springboard. So now that we've gotten some of the highs out of the way, I'm sure a lot of your friends, even you've got some family members being like, you're doing French in university? Okay, we had to do it in grade maybe 9 if we're core French, or maybe we went to immersion and we're done after the high school level. What would some of you say has been your biggest challenge in learning the French language? It may not be at this level that you're at right now, but even if you're reflecting a little bit, what would be that single biggest challenge, even if it's a technicality in the language that you've encountered?
I can start with that.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think is French writing
Oh, yeah.
because yeah, French, all those grammar, all those structures, sentence structures, syntax, everything for me because it's not my first language or not even my second language, so I feel like it's hard. Even though I start to learn French when I was like in high school, but it's still today like in university. I feel like sometimes writing, like doing essays, doing papers, I really rely on those auto spelling check or or grammar check on the internet right now. Like even I need to check all those grammars, like very basic, because sometimes I just can't remember. This is my biggest challenge for so long. And then I feel like it's also the biggest, like it's the reason I still wanted to learn French.
Yeah.
Like I always want to learn basic French over and over again just to remember everything.
Sure. Yeah. Very, very honest. And I think we can all agree that French grammar, I always say, is a beast. It will humble you, this French grammar thing. Malika, what about you?
Um, I would say one of the biggest challenges in learning French would be, well, I'm pretty sure other French students can relate to this as well. It's that when we're learning French, we're only able to practice it in our classroom environment. And very honestly, just doing like 1 to 2 hours of French per day doesn't really help, like ameliorate that French. Sometimes I even do this experiment when I go to Tim's and I try to order in French because we're supposed to be a bilingual country.
I love that.
But then they don't. Yeah, they don't understand what I'm saying, so I'm like, okay, bilingual, sure. So it's just when we go outside, because my dad is more confident in speaking French than he is English. So whenever I see him and I see that he's not feeling, that confident speaking in English, and if only these services were offered in French, he would have been much more confident, speaking and expressing himself. I feel like that's the biggest challenge. It's like there is not enough opportunity to practice that French to get services in French. And if I could change something about the learning system, would also be that one thing.
Yeah, just the real life experience. The real immersion is outside of the classroom. I always say that. I always share that. So, Chris and Kylie, I would love for you to share a little bit more about a breakthrough moment that you had in your French learning journey. Now, I'm sure that would have come from encountering a challenge, but could you recall one experience where something clicked? I have mine, which I'll let you guys share, and then I'll share mine.
I guess I'll start then. For me, French, because I learned it from such a young age, it was always a bit more of like a gradual learning journey. But I had a French teacher in grade 7 who what's the like English version of dictée? I don't even know if there's an English version of
Call it
that.
spelling test or dictation, but no one calls it a dictation, but literal translation
Yeah.
is, yeah, spelling test.
So yeah, one of those, a
Oh,
spelling test, except exclusively for verbs. And we all know that French grammar is a beast.
Yes.
And she called it échelon. And so, like, I guess like rungs on a ladder. So we would get to the next rung on the ladder and we would have a much harder test. And it was a bit less of a breakthrough moment in terms of, oh my God, I understand French verbs so much better now. But it helped me understand that I could understand
Ah,
French verbs a lot better. And that was like a switch had flipped. I was much more engaged in learning grammar. And I like it, I had my breakthrough moment was not I learned the thing, but more I can learn the thing.
wow. Wow. Kylie, what about you?
So I think a breakthrough moment where French really clicked for me, I think was when I realized I was able to kind of like listen and understand those French radios and like things on that are playing
Yes.
on the TV and stuff. And I was able to kind of like understand their jokes and like also laugh in their conversations, which made me really happy. And I was also able to follow along what they were saying despite how fast they talk in radios and stuff. And I think that made me really realize that my listening skills were really improving not just in like my school setting, but also like I was able to listen in like other environments. And I think that all those like listening activities really helped me with that.
Sure. And I always share with everyone that French, it's not sometimes what stereotypically or language learning, period. It's not just being able to speak it. When you're really bilingual, or even Ching's case, actually maybe more than Ching is trilingual, but language learning, reading, listening, speaking, writing. That like those are the four big muscles, right? So yes, speaking is one idea of it, but then it's like reading or listening to French radio, or you hear a French joke and it's like, okay, I get it. I kind of get it. So my experience, it stems back to when I was in university, and I went to York University. And during the first year, and they might have that at your school as well, but during the first year, they had this exchange program. You can go away to Quebec for or different places in Canada for a summer and earn a credit towards your French degree. So French was one of my degrees I was pursuing. I was doing communications and French. So in the summer, I'm like, yeah, I'll go for that French. So I was one of my besties, and the most remote place in Quebec, guys, Trois-Rivières,
ah.
remote. Chris, did
I
you?
love Trois-Rivières. I've been there before. It's one of my
Yes.
favorite places in Quebec. You can
So
walk along the bottom of the St. Lawrence River. It's
it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
It's
It's
beautiful.
beautiful and in a sense untouched, but also meaning. English? What? What's that?
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
what's that is what that place is called. So we get there, and it was so we were going on an adventure. First year university, you're going to Quebec for a summer. Yeah, we're having a great time, but it was serious. So you had to take a placement test, and they placed you in whatever French class you would qualify for. I was in the advanced class. Now, the advanced class is where my breakthrough happened. All my life, I had been very insecure. I don't know if you guys know, but the ability to roll your tongue, to literally roll your tongue, like roll up the rim, is a recessive trait, meaning either you can do it or you can't. You cannot learn to roll your tongue. It's just not going to happen. It's like scientific. So, first, that was one, like, oh, then the professor actually taught us, and there was quite a lot of us. Uh, I've managed through French in French immersion, obviously, well, but I was always in the back of my mind, like, I don't know how to roll my tongue. How am I going to roll my tongue? And then he taught us how to access that rolling sound for those who had the recessive trait. And it blew my mind. It changed the game for my French pronunciation, even confidence. Because it's always like, well, how am I going to get the sound if I wasn't born with the sound, you know? So, anywho, so now even in our classes, I make sure that when it's the R lesson in our Prodigy program that we do, I'm teaching our students, we go through physical exercises on that. Because a lot of them will shy away from accessing the R because they know it's not, they're too young to maybe get that, but they know there's a precision that they're working towards. So I make sure we do that. So that's my breakthrough moment in French, that even if you have the recessive trait, you can make the R sound. It's just going to take you accessing the sound from like the back of your throat. There's like tons of techniques, practicing with a pencil in your mouth, like chomped down and saying and getting the
Yeah.
interesting. There we go. Okay, so that was my breakthrough moment in French. So let's get maybe just a couple more questions, guys, as we wind down a bit. But I would love to know, and maybe Malika already touched on this, if you could, because no one way of learning a language is perfect. I know some of you come from a full French background or immersion or even like a native or high school, Ching from welcome class all the way now to the university level. So tell me if you could change one thing about how French is taught in school or university, what would it be?
Can I start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, maybe because I am really thankful about the all my experience living in Montreal and I love it. I feel like in university in Toronto when we are in a French program, we can like put more stuff about Quebec or like culture in Quebec or like a Quebec accent because I still feel like nowadays some people they are lost about Quebec accent. But personally, I am not. I always say, like we some people they joke about how French people will say we. In French, it's like we, but in Quebec, it's like we, like we open bigger our mouth.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the accent, but I am like, I don't feel like it's funny, but I feel like this is how I learn French. I personally don't really care about what is like a true, real, like good French accent. I
Yeah.
feel like I can speak French no matter what my accent it is. So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe personally in university, if we can put more like be more inclusive about, and also because we're in Canada, like French, the province Quebec, it sometimes feel like a little isolated. So, and I am very proud of their culture and I really enjoy it. So I feel like if university can put more like content or more effort on how like Quebec accent, Quebec culture, or anything about like maybe they can promote more on how Quebec people is friendly. They are not that mean, but some people they feel like Quebecois they are mean. But I personally I really don't feel that way. I feel like
Yeah.
they're cute.
And there's a lot of schools on thought of it. I think
Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun for a lot
yeah,
of people because Quebec,
yes.
it is like there's a history there.
Yes, yes.
And
And then
yeah,
I really enjoyed that day I lived there. So a lot of people they ask where I from. I'm from China, but I was in Montreal for like 10 years. I grew up in Montreal. I also grew up
yeah.
in China. So I feel like this is the background I'm proud of and I really enjoy it. I feel like they are inclusive. So but maybe the way people understand inclusive is differently, but I feel like if a university can promote more on like Quebec's culture or I don't know, they put more effort on their community or whatever will be better. This is my personal thought.
Mhm,
This
mhm.
is very personal.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it's about, right? Sharing our truths and totally, I guess, yeah, feeling comfortable to put that forward. So thank you for that, Malika.
So I've already mentioned it before. I think French should be taught in a very practical way. So, take it beyond the class, make it. I know so many friends of mine that did French with me, even up until grade 12, but then they said, like, where am I going to use this? And then they dropped it while going to university. And honestly, it did make me feel, sad because I thought this would be our thing. We'll continue French together and stuff like that. But people don't see the practical use in French anymore, especially living in Ontario. So I think we should take students more outside the classroom. Yes, the grammar, reading, writing, all of that, it's very important. But if we're dedicating half of our class time to that, then half should be dedicated to, letting students explore how they're going to use French outside in the world and, how they can express themselves, interact with different people. And it will bring French in a new light for them and they will see, how it'll basically be a better image for them as they will go into university. They'll see that they can actually use this practically in other spaces as well.
Yeah, French in the real world, for sure. Kylie, then Chris.
So, like Malika said, I think that it would really be beneficial if French classes really focused on more like cultural aspects and actually like using practical French skills in like real life settings rather than always getting worksheets. Because I know a lot of people like they don't like French classes and they're always like, oh, it's so boring because like all they're doing is just worksheets or like listening and they keep getting tests. And I feel like French shouldn't be like that. It should be something that's like fun, like a new language. Like that's so fun. But because most teachers and like schools, they only give out like worksheets and what's like on the curriculum instead of actually teaching cultural things,
Yes.
that's kind of boring for the students.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris.
Yeah, I completely agree with Ching. I think that a lot of the Canadian French dialects, like Joël from Quebec, like Acadian French from the Maritimes, really need to be a lot more honored in the classroom. And I think that we really need to end the culture of like, oh, that's not how you say it in French. What French? I can think of like five different French dialects right off the bat.
Yes.
Um, and to just like let people express French according to where they're from, according to where their French roots are, because like French is all over the world. So everyone will speak it a little bit differently. And I think that if you could open those doors and be a little bit more inclusive to all the way that the language is spoken, I think that it'll encourage French speakers to practice more outside of the home instead of saying, oh, we're in Canada, we say it this way, or oh, we're not in Quebec, we actually say it this way here. I just don't think that attitude is very productive because I'm also very proud of the French I have. It's this weird mishmash of Ontarian and Quebec French, and I love it.
And that's, I would say, what I celebrate about the French language here. So growing up, and I grew up from SK in French immersion. You too, Kylie, right? In Toronto or like in Ontario?
Yeah, in Toronto.
So what I would say, and this is back in the day, okay? I'm not in the school today, but back in the day, I think what I always credit my French learning experience to was we were very exposed as children to different types of French. So we had teachers from Africa, from Quebec, from Nouveau-Brunswick, from all over the world, from Europe, and that was my first glimpse into diversity in the language without it being a formal lesson. So when even we on this call come together and we're speaking about our French experience in our own way, we're carrying that mantle about diversity in the language and the possibility and potentials, even all different avenues and lanes can still lead to that love and appreciation and treasuring of this French language that all of us have been blessed to experience. So I want to say thank you guys so much for giving up your time. Obviously, yes, on today's call, but bigger picture in the last few months with the French tutor and just making sure we have more exciting lessons where we have a lot of different. By the way, I used, was it Kylie's, your La Jour de Souvenir, your Remembrance Day deck yesterday. It was so good. So I have the best students always, always coming into our group. And yeah, I thank you guys once again for anyone joining. If you are a parent, just know that no matter which road your child or even you, maybe the learner, is on for their French language journey, that if you stay at it, if you're consistent, if you're disciplined, if you seek out resources that's going to support your learning journey, it can only continue to get better and better. So, have a great afternoon, everyone, and we will talk to you soon. So now our live stream is over. Boom.
Boom.